Is there, do we have any company that it's really something?
Yeah, I knew that. So. Let's get things started. It'll work much better because I know it's uncomfortable. It's good. So, and actually, I think we are ready.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to B'nai Israel. It's so nice to see so many people here in person. And welcome to all the people who are joining us online. I think we're going to make beautiful music together, and it's going to be a lovely evening. We are welcoming Nev Langsam. He's going to help us lead prayers tonight, and she is going to be called to the Torah as a bat mitzvah in a few short weeks. Who's counting? Somebody is counting down there, I'm sure. I think is it 4 weeks? 4 weeks? Which is very soon. We are going to welcome Shabbat with Hine Matov, which you will find on page 128.
טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, and again, welcome. And again, we're delighted that Nev will be assisting us, and perhaps later at the end of our service, Adam Packer, two upcoming B'nai Mitzvah. Before we fully welcome Shabbat, let's make sure first to greet one another. So I ask that if you haven't already done so, turn to a neighbor who you don't know, or somebody either in front or behind, and greet them. Saying Shabbat Shalom, introducing yourself. Folks online, you can do the same thing. That was very nice.
It was. Did you hear all the sound?
Absolutely.
It was beautiful.
Absolutely. Candlelighting is on page 120. Lisa Siegel, our ritual chair, leads us this evening in Hadlakat Hanerot, Kindling the Lights of Shabbat, page 120.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlich ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
And let's join with Lisa and sing the blessing on page 120. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisa. Note to Ritual Chair that the lighter actually worked this week. We're off to a good start.
No, maybe she has the magic touch, though.
So on page 138 and 139 is L'chadodi as we continue to welcome Shabbat. We will be singing on pages 138 and 139 the first, the second, and then the 9th verse of L'chadodi, those verses very specific to Shabbat.
And this is a very old melody, but very new to me, so I'm looking for your help if you know it.
L'chadodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'chadodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad ishmi'anu el hamyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shemu tiferet v'litila l'chadodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'chadodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcham ki mekor habracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof mahaseh Shabbat tchila. L'chadodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'chadodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Boi b'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha u'b'sola tochen unei am segula. Boi chala, l'chadodi likrat kala We turn to page 144. Nev, we invite you forward to lead us in the Chatzi Kaddish, page 144. Amen. B'chayechonu yomechon uvchaye b'chol Beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, uvizman kariv. Amen. Yeheshmei Rabbam Mevorach, Le'alam u'le'amayim, Yitbarach. Tushbechata v'nechemata, damiram be'ama. Amen. We turn to page 146. For those who are able, we invite you to rise for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. We turn to page 148 as I read at the bottom of the page. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai HaMahari Paravi. And the bottom of page 150. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Page 152. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam. Please be seated. We turn to page 154 as we join together with Nev and Linda in the chanting of the Be'ahavta. Atah et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu Advarim ha'elef asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinamtam levanecha v'dibartam bam v'shivtecha v'beitecha Uvletecha v'derech, u'shokbecha u'bekumecha, u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'chayu l'totafot bein einecha, u'chtavtam al mizuzot beitecha, u'visharecha. L'man tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'Elohechem.
Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim v'hiyot lachem Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem.
And that's page 156. I read towards the bottom of the page. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously. Michamocha will be found on page 158.
Name this tune. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora tahilot oseh v'eleh. Familiar, right? Anybody know? Pardon me? Yes. Yes. Anybody know the tune?
I can't wait to share. Oftentimes with Mi Chamocha, it's a way of sort of setting up what's going to be the next holiday. Clearly, we have a holiday coming this coming next week, and that is Adir Hu, a magnificent one. Baruch atah Adonai Al Yisrael, praise to you Adonai for redeeming Israel. I read at the bottom of page 160, Baruch atah Adonai U'Pesukat Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Amo Yisrael, Ve'al Yerushalayim. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. On page 162, our prayer for Shabbat, top of the page, B'Shamru.
B'Shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'doratam berit olam. B'Shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'doratam berit olam. Beni Yirei b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam. B'Shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'doratam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'doratam berit olam. U'vayom hashvi Shabbat vayinapash, Shabbat vayinapash, Shabbat vayinapash. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'doratam berit olam.
Our service now continues, page 164. We invite those who are able to rise. We will be chanting the prayers on the right-hand pages, on the even-numbered pages, beginning page 164, continuing through page 170. We join together with Nev and Linda in the Tefillah.
Adonai, Sifata Tiftach, Ufi Ahi Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor B'Hanara, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdekot Ve'imahot, U'mevii Gula Lifnei B'neihem, L'man Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magid Abraham, V'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atavrav Yehoshia, Mechakel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Shalom Noflim V'Rofeh Cholim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mekayeh Emunato L'Sherei Afar. Mi Hamocha Bal Gevurot, U'Migdo Melech, Melech Melit U'Mechayeh, U'Masmiach Yeshua. V'Ne'eman Atal HaChayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol.
You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel led the Jewish people during a period of great challenge and was executed by the Romans. He gave his life in commitment to the cause of justice. So to quote him is to acknowledge the depth of his moral compass. As Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel used to say, on three things does the world stand: on justice, on truth, and on peace. As it is said in the book of Zechariah, speak the truth to one another and render truth and justice in your gates. Articulating the values that might best shape and protect us, Rabban Shimon had the hope and the insight to see beyond his own time, beyond the chaos and factionalism and violence and oppression. Heirs to his wisdom and participants in the very same ancient and ongoing covenant, the Brit, we stand on his shoulders and in solidarity. We too are to be open and honest and dedicated to integrity and peace. Speaking truth, we recognize how yet again this week, America experiences another spasm of senseless slaughter and a widened circle of mourners. Indifference and apathy and passivity are sins. This must stop. Nor is that all. It has also been an eventful week in the land of Israel, as the power grab, grossly mislabeled as judicial reform, threatens both Israeli civil society and America's-Israel strategic partnership. A temporary halt to the proceedings was called after the country effectively shut down. The groundswell of devotion to democracy by Israelis has, at least for the moment, forestalled calamity, though, as a wise former Israeli official explained, the divisions being stoked within Israel are extremely dangerous. The demonstrators in Israel, the most powerful movement since statehood, want to retain a status quo that maintains democracy and deserves our support. On three things does the world stand: on justice, on truth, and on peace. Praying for shalom this Shabbat, may we be amongst those rendering truth and justice in our gates. Our prayer, Shalom Rav, page 178.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov enecha levarech et amecha Yisrael. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim
Silent prayer, page 180.
Yehiyu l'ratzon imrefi v'hegyon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri v'goli.
Our service now continues with our Torah service, Seder Kriyat Torah, found on page 364. We invite those who are able to please rise.
Ki mitzion texte Torah, Ki mitzion texte Torah, Udebar Adonai mirushalayim.
Please be seated. This week's Torah portion is tzav, which means to command. The word mitzvah, commandment, is derived from it. While the material itself is archaic, it does offer important lessons. For example, there's a verse about changing into work clothes. It says, he will don other garments and bring the ashes outside the camp. This is the ashes from the perpetual ongoing flame. It led our sages to explain that the Torah is teaching etiquette using the example of a chef and a waiter. It says in the Midrash, the clothes in which one prepared food, one does not wear to pour wine. For that, one should wear fresh clothes. That is, our clothing helps to highlight the occasion. We also read tonight a verse that ties us into Passover, an instruction that the priests eat matzah in a holy place. For generations, that holy place has become the tables where we gather to consider and foster the ideals of freedom and connection at our Passover Seders. This section tonight, it's Leviticus 6. For those with the Torah commentaries, it's on page 781. This is the beginning of the Torah portion, and we invite forward as our Aliyah to the Torah this evening, Larry Smotroff. Larry will be beginning right there.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Vahed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vahed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim. V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Notein HaTorah.
Amen. Amen. V'yidaber Adonai El Moshe Lemor, and Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, Tzav et Aharon ve'et banav, command Aaron and his sons, Lemor, saying, Zot Torah Olah, this is the instruction for the burnt offering, Hu ha'olah al mokda al hamizbeach kol halayla ad haboker. This will be placed onto the altar from all the evening until morning. The Eish Hamizbeach tukad bo, and it will have a perpetual flame. V'lavasha kohen midovad u'michnasevad yilbash al basaro, and the priest who is in attendance will be wearing linen clothing, linen breeches. V'chaim et hadeshen asher tochal ha'esh, and he'll take the ashes that the fire has produced, et ha'olah, from the burnt offering, al hamizbeach, which is on the altar, v'samo etzel hamizbeach, and he will take them away from the altar, ufashat et begadav, and will change his clothes, v'lavash begadim acharim, changing into different clothes, v'hotzi et hadeshen, and then bring the ashes el michutz lamachane el makom tahor, outside into a pure place outside of the camp. V'ha'esh al hamizbeach tukad bo, but the fire shall be on the altar continually. Lo tichbe, it should not go out. Uve'ir alecha hakohen etzim baboker baboker. And each morning the priest should put fire on the altar. Baruch alecha ha'olah, v'tir alecha chalvei hashlamim. Eish Tamid, this should be a perpetual flame. Tukad al hamizbeach, on the altar, lo tichbe. Again, it should not go out. V'zot Torat ha-mincha, and this is the instruction in the Torah for the meal offering, or what's known as the mincha, hakrev ota b'nei Aharon, that the children of Aaron will offer lifnei Adonai, before God, el p'nei hamizbeach, right before the front of the altar. V'herim mikne mimenu mukumso mitzolet mishmenat ushmenat, and that the priest will take a handful of fine flour, the etkol halavana, and the incense, asher al hamizbeach, from the altar, v'tir hamizbeach reach nichoach azkarata l'Adonai, in order to do a remembrance of God in this ritual. V'hanoteret, and that of the flour which is left over, mimina, yochlu Aharon uvanav, that will be eaten by Aaron and his sons, matzot tochal. They'll eat it as matzah, they shall eat. B'makom kodesh, in a holy place, b'chatzar ohel moed yochlua. It will be right across in the tent of meeting that they will eat the matzah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah edmet, v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen. Thank you, Larry. Just beautiful. Thank you. We invite everyone to rise, if you are able, as the Torah will be raised. V'zot HaTorah, the bottom of page 370, and then page 374 for Eitz Chaim Chi, that Torah is a tree of life.
V'zot HaTorah she'sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael, oti le'olam be'ad Moshe. La 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 la. Eitz Chaim Hi lemachzikim ba v'tol makeha merushar deracheya darchei noam v'kol netivoteha shalom hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Chodesh, Chodesh Yameinu, Chodesh Yameinu, kekedem.
Please be seated. As we offer the blessing for healing this Shabbat, we are mindful of Yvette Mickenberg, Reverend Ken Frazier, Pat Marignani, Sharilyn Hamara, Tzvia Mina Bat Ita Tzvi Hirsch, Max Berkowitz, Judy Sherman, Lenny Gutter, Selma Ochen, Stuart Rabinowitz. There are people whom we pray for privately. And for those in our sanctuary, we invite you to share out loud the names of people for whom likewise we publicly pray this Shabbat.
Brody Filburn and Lita Watkins.
And for those on Zoom, we ask you to unmute and say out loud the names of people for whom we also pray publicly this Shabbat.
John Bradley. Okay.
Norma Hecker, Michelle Klein, and Gil Abramson.
Phyllis
Noreen,
and Jessica Ann Bryan.
Noreen Hockhauser,
Bess Abramson,
Maxine Schwartz.
For all, may the Holy One send healing and shelter in protection. Our prayer, Misha Berach, page 371.
May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishe berach imotenu mikor habracha lahavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
This Shabbat is known as Shabbat Hagadol, the Great Sabbath. This is the Shabbat prior to Passover. It's one where for countless generations, rabbis have spoken about the upcoming Passover observance. If the other Rabbi Eric, if Rabbi Silver is on Zoom, you can check it out. Hopefully he's nodding in agreement. It's a precedent to speak about Passover on this Shabbat, generations upon generations. So thinking about the upcoming festival and its rituals, I figured I'd discuss something that's been central for each of those countless generations, namely the Afikomen. Linda is preparing a special Afikomen prize for our congregational Seder, but on that matter, I'm sworn to secrecy. So I'll say no more. What's an Afikomen? What's an Afikomen? Half of the middle matzah. And what happens to this Afikomen, half of the middle matzah? It gets eaten. It gets hidden. It gets hidden, and then what happens? You find it. And then what happens? You eat it. Okay, so this news to anybody here in the sanctuary so far tonight? Probably not, right? And it's a big thing to find and to hide the Afikomen. One year we made it really tough. We used the example, we said vanity, and we put it behind a mirror. That was really hard. The Afikomen is, as you know, really important to the Passover Seder. It's what we teach the wise children. And here I'm going to quote directly from the Passover Haggadah. These children should be taught all the laws of Passover from beginning to end. And then it says, Ein maftirin achal haPesach afikomen, including the reference to end, to conclude our Passover meal with the afikomen. So clearly the afikomen, if it had no consequence, if it had no importance, it wouldn't be singled out that way for attention by our rabbis. And only, as you know, what's an afikomen? And you've said, and Debbie was right there, half of the middle matzah, which is broken. Afikomen is likely from the Greek word epikomios or epikomion, meaning after dinner entertainment, but more literally that which comes later or after. In fact, our ancient rabbis debated what an afikomen was. So here's a teaching from the Jerusalem Talmud. It says, what is the afikomen? Rabbi Shimon said in the name of Rabbi Inani bar Sisi, Rabbi Sisi, it's a kind of music. Rav Ami says, it's a kind of sweet. Shmuel said, it's like the mushrooms and pigeons of Chanina bar Shilat. Music, sweets, mushrooms, pigeons. Chanina saw them as delicacies, as mushrooms or pigeons, sort of like caviar or pate. The one thing which they say it's not is a piece of matzah. The afikomen represents a sort of finality, the end of the ceremony. Likely it was first a philosophical discussion, but ending with matzah, felt the rabbis in Babylonia, was precisely how the eating part should end. The taste of matzah should be the last morsel in our mouths. Why? I suspect because matzah's flatness reminds us not to be too puffed up, to see ourselves and God as siding with those in need and overcoming hardship. So notice that Jewish tradition evolves. Were you to say to Rabbi Shimon in the 4th century, let's hide the afikomen, he'd have no idea what you were saying. He'd be forced to assume that there will be no singing afterwards. That would be terrible. Chas v'chalila with it. But as we know, the afikomen came to mean end dessert with matzah. There are other such changes in other parts of the Seder. Many of us now put an orange on the Seder plate, representing our embrace of equality and inclusion. Our educator, Maura Abby Peklo, sent Linda and me the Wandering is Over Haggadah earlier this week that listed other potential rituals. And Abby, you saw as you sent it, those other rituals included an artichoke heart for the inclusion of interfaith families. The reasoning is a bit complicated if you go and look it up. Tomato or fair trade chocolate or cocoa beans for economic freedom. An olive for peace in the Middle East. A banana for remembering refugees. Recall the sad story of the 5-year-old Syrian boy, Elan Kurdi, who drowned on the beach in Turkey in 2015 after fleeing the civil war in Syria. He was hoping to swim to shore and receive, he had been promised, a banana. Cashews in support of American troops. Pine cones, which imprison their seeds to call out a desire for criminal justice reform. The list goes on. I suspect that some of these rituals will last and some won't. Yet with all this change, what's the same? In all of this, the constant is the desire to observe Passover in the first place and to relate to the ideas of liberation and of being rescued. So, knowing what you now know about the evolution of the Afikomen, from being something not known about to now being one of the most identifiable elements, the finding of a lost half of a broken matzah, ideally by a child, consider how it actually makes an excellent symbol for Judaism and the Jewish community. We search in our lives and our world to create wholeness, bringing shattered parts together, hopefully with modesty, good humor, and an eye to the future. And doing so is ultimately more enduring than making policy statements with pine cones, and more meaningful than savoring truffles or caviar or mushrooms or other delicacies. In an age where Americans who say religion is very important has dropped to 39% now, from 62% in 1998. I applaud all who look to faith for continuity and renewal. As you ready for the Passover holiday, as part of an important but needed minority, pause to consider the values you see best ritualized in our festival of freedom, the concerns that you would like to express. May we all appreciate reminders that might bring us closer to the source of liberation and wholeness, and likewise, make sure there's some fun along the way. Ken Yehi Ratzon, be this God's will. Our service now continues on page 586. Adam, we're going to invite you forward to open the Ark. We invite those who are able to rise. Come on down, Adam. The Aleinu that we will be chanting is the second paragraph down on the page.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגרי הרצות, ולא עשנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Please be seated, page 500, and thank you, Adam. Page 591 for B'nai Emor.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
We turn to page 598. At this moment in our service, we now call to mind our own beloved dead. We pray on their behalf. We voice the confidence that they are remembered for blessing. I ask that those in mourning, remembering the anniversary of the death of a loved one, to please rise if you are able when their name is mentioned, whether you're in the sanctuary or joining us on Zoom. During Shiva, we remember Avshalom Lubin, father of Hadar, father-in-law of David, grandfather of Corinda and Adam. We remember the yahrzeits, the anniversaries of the deaths of Sarah Cohen, Joseph David Dover, Florence Erlanger, Paul Feynman, Henry Fleischman, Joseph Goldberg, William N. Green, Manning Greenberg, Murray Haber, Joseph Halperin, Florence Hamar, Morris Horn, Heather Rose Cornick, Meyer Land, Stanley L. Levin, Ava L. Littman, Jacob Nidek, Irving Rosen, Charlotte Smatroff, Lois E. Zetzer. We ask our worshipers in our sanctuary, should you have a dear one to add, to please rise and say their name. We ask our online worshipers on Zoom to unmute and say the name of their loved one.
Ruth Fitzgerald.
For those in our sanctuary, should you wish, we invite you to offer a short remembrance of a dear one on our Kaddish list. Please raise your hand for the microphone. We remember the Ukrainian victims of Russia's invasion. Each Shabbat, we also mention 6 names amongst the 6 million murdered in the Holocaust, the Shoah. This week, we remember Frederica Neumann, Irina Neumann, Isaac Neumann, Morris Neumann, Maya Velkelsman, and Sevilla Flocksman. In remembrance, in solidarity, and on behalf of those for whom there is no one but us to say Kaddish, we now invite all to rise, if you are able. Our prayer, page 598. Yit Gadol v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, v'alma divrachu te v'amlich malchute, b'chaye echon u'vyome echon u'v'chaye d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah Mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal Shemei d'Kudusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran bi'alma b'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael b'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael b'imru amen. Zechronam levracha. May their memories be for blessing, and let us say amen. Please be seated. Stephen Reps is the president of B'nai Israel.
Good evening, all. Very nice to see everyone here this evening, last day of March. Thank you, Rabbi and Linda and Lisa, for a wonderful service. Nev, and for your participation, and our Adams, Adam Packer and Adam Wisniewski on TechCore. Any good news to share this evening? Lisa. Matthew is an all-state choir, and he has a solo tomorrow. Mazel tov, wonderful. Yes, Larry.
Joshua qualified for nationals, and he's going to be going fencing in Phoenix in July.
Joshua, the nationals for fencing in Phoenix. Wow. Yes. Oh, wonderful. Baby boy name?
Charles David.
Charles David, wonderful. Lovely, mazel tov. Xavier is 8 next weekend, mazel tov. Happy birthday, Xavier. Anything online?
Tomorrow's Larry Smatra's birthday.
April 1st, yes it is. Let's sing a happy birthday to Larry and Xavier.
Yes, let's do that. Yom Halelet Sameach, Yom Halelet Sameach, Yom Halelet Sameach, Yom Halelet Sameach.
Wonderful, thank you. Tomorrow morning, Torah study at 10:30 in person and online. For those in person, check out our new Zoom room in classroom number 7. Sunday, religious school and intro to Judaism. Tuesday, rabbi's discussion group and religious school. Next Shabbat, services at 7 p.m. Adam Packer will help lead the service. Hold the date, big date coming up, end of next month, Saturday night, April 29th, of course, for a special event honoring 25 years of B'nai Israel, 25 years with Rabbi Eric, 150 years as a congregation, and 20 years in this building. As of this afternoon, we have 77 who have RSVP'd, still plenty of time, so please send in your responses, and we have plenty of room in the program book too. Immediately after the Kiddush and Motzi, we'll go into the social hall for tonight's Oneg. The rabbi will be online to say hello about 15 minutes after the Motzi. Very good to see everyone. Have a great weekend. Shabbat Shalom.
Maybe we should be shooting for 150 for 150, so in terms of our numbers. So, in the traditional Haggadah, Moses is not mentioned. The focus is to give God the credit, not Moses. In our Haggadah, which we're going to be doing on Wednesday night, Moses is mentioned because this song, which we'll be singing again then, is too good to pass up. Page 665. When Israel was in Egypt land, let my people go. Oppressed so hard they could not stand, let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land, tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. Moses, but come forward, Nev and Adam, to help lead in Kiddush, which is found on page 123, as we join together with Linda in Kiddush, page 123.
1, 2, 3.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei
Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hikilanu zikaron l'ma'aseh bereshit ki hu yom tehillah l'mikrayeh kodesh zecher l'tzion mitzrayim ki banu b'chartam v'yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hichatanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat amen. L'chaim. Nev, I'm going to ask you to cut the challah for our motzi right over here. And
Very sherry.
Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
may God's presence be with you and give you peace. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat